I'm Dixon Kasote, Program Manager at First Media Africa of the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung based in Windhoek, Namibia. So my opinion or my take on the declaration, I think it is a very important declaration and normative framework for Africa. And I believe that the declaration in its current form is very good and still relevant, but it needs updating in areas that has to do, for instance, issues to do with artificial intelligence, which is not well elaborated, although it's implied in other articles of the declaration. So I think work still needs to be done to ensure that the declaration not only gets known out there. So I think there's need to do a lot of awareness raising among all players, and multi-stakeholder collaboration and engagement with government, the African Commission and other players at the continental, regional and local levels are needed to ensure that the declaration is used as a normative framework for policy and legislative processes on the continent.
The declaration is very relevant. It is relevant because it must also be as a monitoring tool that we can use whenever the laws that are there are not implemented accordingly or are not followed. Then we can be able to have a tool for advocacy to say, we have the declaration, why can't you follow it, or even follow your laws that were made in line with the declaration. So yes, they are relevant. In terms of what are the laws that we have, I'm not too sure if that's part of the question as well, but we know you have the data protection, your cyber laws. So that there sometimes you just need to push for the implementation. For example, the data protection was adopted in 2018, if I'm not losing it there, but it is yet to be implemented. And this is a tool that we can still use now. Say, well, even though we have the law, please implement it as according to the declaration.
Different stakeholders have embraced it in varying degrees. We've seen civil society organizations fully embrace it, I would say, in my opinion, as they have taken to advocacy and lobbying around internet rights. We've seen governments in varying degrees throughout Africa also adopt the idea of internet rights. We've seen the enactment of different legislation addressing internet rights, for instance, data protection legislation that covers that. But we've also seen the coming in of academics to explore the field of internet rights even further. But that all came about with the conversation that was started by this declaration.
Yes, I think the declaration set the tone in terms of the dialogue, stakeholder dialogue between the governments, other civil society organizations, and also regional bodies like the African Union, SADC, and the COMESA, where now people started discussing issues to do with the internet and how the rights of or freedoms of people can be protected online. So it was like the declaration itself was a platform, or made a platform for people to discuss issues of how they can incorporate human rights-based approaches in their laws or policies that governments in Africa are formulating.
You know, being part of this project is something that has been very exciting, in the sense that we've come across a lot of interesting things that other African countries are doing to do with internet freedoms and how to promote internet rights. So coming to the declaration, and if it's still relevant in terms of promoting and protecting human rights freedoms on the internet, well, the document still remains relevant, and it's important in the sense that we've seen how civil society actors as well as human rights defenders have been using this document to champion the promotion and protection of human rights online. We've seen how they are able to use the document to expose certain violations, and also how to be able to push for certain changes in the legal frameworks, and also push for policy changes. So it is an important tool in the sense that it helps human rights actors as well as civil society actors to hold to account most of our leaders that are spearheading the processes of crafting the frameworks. Now, talking about the gaps in the declaration, while it remains to be a very important document, I still feel there are areas where we need to strengthen it. It needs to align with the current happening. So the talk of the day now is AI. Of course, in the document, it's not explicitly mentioned. There are keywords that tying it to, internet connectivity and all that kind of thing. However, we need to embed the component of AI because almost everyone, even governments now, are moving to adopting AI as platforms that they're embedding into their systems to be able to provide quality services. So if such terms are not embedded in the document, it still leaves room for crafters or people that are in authority to maneuver around and be able to still be able to violate certain human rights. And then also we need to just strengthen this document because it does recognize the importance of freedom of expression online, and it has also allowed a lot of governments in now Africa. We are seeing now governments are now being able to move to implement laws that are supporting freedoms online. Like in Zambia, we recently saw the government enacting the Access to Information Law, which is a law that took so many years to be enacted. We saw governments come in and governments leave without the law being enacted. So with such principles in place, they are helping to put government to account, make sure that government are responsible and ensuring that government are responding to the signatories that they assign to. And then also, when it comes to issues of privacy, I think it is a good document in the sense that it now brings about checks and balances in terms of how people are being surveyed on the internet. Everyone now is talking about smart cities, but it also brings in the question of surveillance and also intrusion of privacy. So in terms of the gaps, I think there are certain keys or areas that need to be explicitly mentioned and included in the document.
I think political will, because government only heed to a conversation where they can take advantage, where they can fully benefit. So political will is a great stumbling block when we look at Africa and their enactment of digital rights issues. We've seen civil society also being labeled as adversarial parties because they want to advocate for human-centered approaches, which is what this declaration speaks to. We've seen also some technology companies not fully adapt what the principles speak to because from them, they look at it from a capitalist angle and they won't fully benefit financially if they are fully transparent and accountable in how they use data in as far as digital rights is concerned.
If the declaration can maybe move to a status of mandatory, whatever the legal terms are, I think that will be helpful because we have good principles there, but sometimes we see the gaps in terms of implementation. Like I said, sometimes the laws are used differently with bad motives. I mean, you'll have a cyber law which is used politically to get at people and deny them their freedom of expression.
Yes, in our context, we think it has, as this has also given us to run with the civil society in terms of engaging the communities in regards to internet rights, which includes access, good infrastructure, and overall inclusion of marginalized groups to the Internet of Things. So I would say the uptake has been good, but we always need to improve here and there. And it has guided us in leading or formulating our own work in our country as civil society around internet rights. As before, it was launched 10 years ago, But as the region starts to enact policies and legislation around regulating internet, we have also gone on top to start advocating for internet rights. So the AFDEC has been critical in that.